need to go.
We're good. Nobody's joined.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody on with us? No, okay. We'll be working from the handout that you have that's called the focus pages. The others are all for your backup material, which I hope you've had some things to at least look at. So the focus pages is the narrower packet. And I'm going to start by asking Ray Bauer, when he's got a moment, to give us a quick overview of the Riverside Rest Home budget, where we are and where we're going.
Well,
Thank you, Ray.
the quick overview is,
Wait a minute, before we do that.
roll call.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
No problem. Where do you want to?
Sorry,
put it?
so sorry. I didn't realize there was an extra seat there. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure that there was.
She's getting the roll going.
Yep,
Burnham,
here.
Lewis is excused. Lamontagne,
Here.
La Rochelle,
Present.
practice here. Penza,
On our way.
Stone. And Wall,
You,
and then,
and we have.
I'll sub in for Stone.
okay. And then Howland,
Here.
and then Peter Schmidt is also observing too.
Okay. Is anyone?
We're gonna need
here
a
for
seat for
third?
Kelly though,
Okay.
right? We're gonna need a seat at the table.
Right, I thought, wasn't that where it was?
Oh.
Power.
I wasn't sure if there was a seat there or we can have her sit, I was gonna move Peter over.
And somebody can sit on my lap.
Be careful there. I'm glad you.
Alright. Fortunately, we have like a
Okay.
detention facility.
We're going to ask Ray to give us an overview of the budget, where we're headed and what's happened and such. And at the tail end, we'll do the one motion for what we will decide to do. We will have a consensus on each section of the budget and then move forward. Okay, Ray, go ahead.
We took a hard look at the budget this year, like we do every year, but probably this year a little more enhanced than positions that we might be able to eliminate. We did. I can say one good thing is we're fully staffed. In fact, it's odd because we received a email just this morning from the union who represents another facility, and I honestly don't, it's another government facility, and I honestly don't know what facility that is, but apparently there's the staff there are unhappy and want to know if they could apply here. I don't have any open positions for them. So I think that's a tribute to the delegation. And the commissioners working together in past years to, pay a reasonable level. Because it's actually much cheaper, of course, than it is to hire pool nurses and travel nurses. And pool.
And better, not only cheaper, but better.
Well, it's cheaper, it's better for continuity.
Yeah.
Because obviously when aides come in or nurses come in, they don't know our residents. So they're going based on what our other employees tell them to do, which isn't always the best way to do things, because not all of our residents need two people to assist them. So anyway, I'm happy to go budget by budget. Sometimes when you see changes that go up or down, not a large percentage, it's because new people have come in, or in this case, as an example, administration 5100-003 went down because an employee went part-time. As an example.
Excuse me, I want to interject at the very beginning. This budget is pretty much level funded, so you're not gonna see a lot of changes in the different portions of the budget. Thank you, Ray.
So I wanted to I'm happy to go budget by budget, but, which is the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
Are remembering that the hospice house is also funded out of here. The way the state, has us prepare our budgets and is all one document. When we submit to them, we submit all one document, which counts the operation of Hyder. Now, I'll get to other things as we go about other unusual things this year, mostly in the area of maintenance. Because we actually eliminated positions by combining the maintenance department. And then when we file our cost report for the nursing home, we have to deduct any maintenance that's done here or at the jail. So,
Penalized for efficiency.
well, it saved quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to answer any questions on administration, which you can see has about a $24,000 decrease.
Okay, that's it to the administration part. Moving on to management, which is page
Oh,
24
MIS,
of your
yeah.
handout.
We continue to try and be vigilant. It's a $28,000 decrease. We had Hillsborough had a severe a really bad situation where they had an attack on the system. So as that continues to occur, of course, we're all insured by Primex. So we all learn from each other. And I think when we did have an attack a year or two ago, it didn't, no resident information, no employee information, none of that became public. So we stopped it pretty quickly. And I don't think Hillsborough was quite as lucky. And it was, in fact, we were told not to communicate with Hillsborough County, via computer, which we would normally do. We communicate with all the counties. We were told not to.
Mhm.
So we didn't, till it was almost a month. Because it also counts the jail too, obviously.
Yes.
So it was almost a month before they got everything all squared away. So we were happy for that.
Are the information systems, like, cause we have so many departments, do you do it like you did, just when you just brought up like maintenance, that you're able to like have one thing?
Except the only one that's separate is the sheriff's department. All the other MIS is all together.
Okay,
We have two people that work in MIS and the sheriff's department has their own MIS, but it's. Help me with the, what's the name of your federal compliance that you have to do? CJIS. They have to do a CJIS compliance, and that's why it's separate, because that has to be brought up to a much higher level. And it would be a waste of money to bring the whole county up to that CJIS level. So a decision was made a couple of years ago by the commissioners to separate. So it's the whole county and then the sheriff's department, which includes dispatch and includes the dispatch for all the towns that we dispatch for.
do you have to do something, the MIS system, do you have to, like, in the maintenance, like you said, okay, you guys did 20 hours worth of work on the Riverside, so that goes to the Riverside billing. Do you have that level of complexity with MIS too? You have
Yeah.
the same thing?
We have the same thing. Mostly this, again, the separation's the jail. But yeah, otherwise we'd be committing a Medicaid fraud. So what you see here is the MIS for the entire county. And we have to keep track of the hours that we do for the jail and deduct that off the cost report. So there's several areas of this budget that actually exceeds or there's work done in other sections, and I'll mention that as we go.
Okay.
But MIS is certainly one of them.
Right, I've noticed throughout the budget that we have decreases in retirement and workers' comp and things like that. Can you give some concept of that, please?
In terms of retirement, you know, there was some minor adjustments, or at least they didn't go up as much as they have in the past. So we're happy for that. In terms of workers' comp has, if you use the system of workers' comp, you get a flat rate. If we use Primex to manage our workers' comp, as probably does 95% of the cities, towns, school districts. I know Manchester does not. Rockingham does not. They use Primex for property and liability, but not workers' comp. But so there's a base rate, and then there's a rate based on your particular usage. So if your usage is better than the average, it'll go down. So if we have a pretty good year, now this was a pretty good year. I can't tell you it'll be that way every year. Because if I knew that from the beginning, I would, we would do that all over the place and never have any workers' comp claims, but that's not the case.
So you need to put up like those signs, days since the last accident, let's keep it going.
Are there any questions on the MIS portion of this budget? Okay. When you get around to it, we're using the smaller packet, the one that says the focus pages. And we're now going to be on page 25. No, we haven't covered lots and lots of stuff. But no, we're now on the portion of the budget that's purchasing. That's pretty flat.
Yep,
You're not really purchasing much more than you have been.
we're just rearranging how we're doing.
Okay,
I think this is where we're at.
are there questions on purchasing?
He's talking about MIS.
Goals.
Yeah, we're moving on to the next page on the back.
No, so we're moving on to the dietary department. We know that virtually every resident of the rest home does their diet monitored and all, because there are so many people with special needs.
There's
Can you talk about stuff?
7 different diets. We comply with what's called IFSI. And please don't ask me what those initials stand for, but what it is it's a universal system. So that if you go to the hospital, if you come from another nursing home, if you, and if that other nursing home complies with IFSI, it's 7 different diets, mostly related to texture, as opposed to, what's in the diet itself. It's mostly related to different textures, which, our occupational therapist, does the swallowing assessments. And, we also have, when we get to occupational therapy, you'll see that there's a, small amount of money where people come in, and actually, instead of sending someone out to the hospital, we can do some diet assessments right in the facility. As opposed to, sending somebody out for a swallowing study. So for a lot of our residents, going out to the hospital is a traumatic experience. They don't really understand, what's going on. And some just refuse to go. So as much as we can do in-house, we try and do.
How does it work if someone really can't feed themselves?
Well, we feed them. And that's a whole nother complicated subject. If you're a nurse's aide or a nurse or a family member, you can feed your family member and or anybody that needs to be fed if you're a nurse's aide or a nurse. If otherwise you have to be trained and you have to go through a 2-day program for teaching you how to feed. As an example, I usually, when I come in on the holidays, I help feed. So, fortunately, the staff is good at giving me somebody that's relatively easy, but still can't feed themselves, but, and then we have a list of people, probably a dozen or so people that can only be fed. What would be otherwise called a paid feeding assistant, even though we really don't have them. I would be classified as a paid feeding assistant, meaning that you have that 2-day training. Your other people, there's about a dozen people that can't be fed, and our occupational therapist puts out a periodic list and reassesses that list as necessary, and adds people to the list, or takes people off the list, mostly it's the path.
Do people have any questions on the dietary portion of the book?
The only one I do is like, so the food service staff dropped. And that's really the big thing on this section. Did you change employees or something like that?
A lot of our food service staff is part-time, so as some of our full-time people retire, we replace them with part-time people. And that, of course, they come in at a lesser salary, and that's how that works out.
I have a question on line 23-9. Partially reimbursed by contracted meals with community partners. What's that all about?
We sell meals to what used to be Southeastern New Hampshire Services, which is now Community Partners, because they took them over. So we sell meals to them and they pay us back. It comes in as a revenue. You'd see it on the revenue page.
Do we feed the jail also?
No, we do not. The jail cooks for themselves. There is some baking that we do for the jail because we have a baker. And sometimes it's more efficient if we, rather than have a second bakery set up at the jail, we bake at the nursing home, and there's times when we send baked products over to the jail. But another thing we need to deduct from our cost report, but the jail does their own cooking. And that's a whole different issue regarding meals. Because the meal issues at the jail are mostly related to ethnicity. And that's not so much at Riverside. So we're careful at the jail to be sure that the people that we house there, that we honor their ethnic, religious and ethnic requests.
Okay, with the nursing department, which is now on page 27, can we have an overview of that, please? How is it doing in terms of getting the staff and?
We're full. I couldn't hire anybody if I wanted to.
What do you mean by you couldn't hire anybody if you wanted to?
They-
You don't need anybody.
I don't need anybody. Right.
Yeah, I get that, but what do you mean you couldn't hire anybody?
Well, I could if I was replacing someone,
Okay,
but right now we have, I guess, a hiring freeze, for lack of a better way to put it.
okay, because that was referenced in an earlier.
Right, it's, in fact, again, as I mentioned earlier, another governmental facility, and I don't know which one, they didn't specify, had through their union had asked if we had openings and if we were looking to hire. But we're not.
How's it going in terms of flu or COVID or anything like
I
that?
haven't had, gosh, my director of nurses just walked in
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like she's knocking on wood and everything else. We haven't had one case of flu or one case of COVID this season.
Wow.
Now, I've had employees who had been out with
Sure.
that because they have to report that to our infection control department.
Right.
I have instituted, for probably the last month, we're doing mask on. Over the last month, I would like to tell you that I believe that that's attributed to the fact that I have an employee who's been identified as having COVID, who did direct care with a resident and, direct care with a number of residents, and none of them have developed COVID or flu. Secondarily, I just looked on the CMS website and our vaccination rate for both COVID and flu is running around 94 to 95%.
Is that staff?
No, that's residents.
Residents,
That's
okay.
residents. And for those of you that might or might not accept this philosophy, there's a philosophy called herd immunity.
Yeah.
And our medical director is a great belief in herd immunity. His college roommate, take that back, his medical school roommate is a great believer and a studier of herd immunity. So if you have a large number of people that are vaccinated and well, it keeps the balance of the people who aren't vaccinated, who have refused the vaccine. Well, yeah, so I can't tell you that either of those two are the reasons. I can just tell you, we haven't had one case of COVID or the flu this season. That's all I can tell you.
So Ray, when we had the first COVID outbreak 4 or 5 years ago, okay? For you guys were successful in avoiding the COVID for a while,
That's right.
and ultimately there was a breakthrough. Are you doing anything differently this time?
Well, if you remember at the beginning, there was no vaccine.
Well, that was one of the things that changed, is obviously pre and post vaccine availability. Yeah,
Absolutely. You know,
So-
that was I got COVID, before, that's the only time I've missed work. I got COVID before, the vaccine was available.
Right.
Since then, I've been vaccinated and, my wife doesn't believe in vaccines. She's had 4 bouts of COVID, and even though she's had it, I've never gotten it from her. So,
my,
so I can only tell you, you know, we'll call it anecdotal, call it. I know some people believe in it, some people don't. I can only tell you that this has worked for us and we're gonna continue to work with it.
Jessica has a question.
None about vaccines.
Yeah, let's please,
Yes,
can we
yeah,
get off
we
that
had
subject right now?
4.5 hours for one bill
Yeah.
on Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's no such thing as herd immunity, so.
Uh,
I'll give you
fees and
everything.
outside services, he's cut that like about in half, and that is mainly because you're not using any traveling nurses
We never use travel nurses, but we're not using pool
or
nurses.
nursing.
Or we're using less pool nurses.
How much is the consulting for the phase 3 rules implementation? How much are you expecting? And what do they do? That's something you usually do, is hire a consultant for compliance reports or?
We're
something like that?
Center for Medicare and Medicaid just came out and redid their 800 pages of rules. So, it was cheaper for us than sending departments out for their sections. It was cheaper for us to have them, do a facility-wide training. They don't come to the facility, you know, we do it via video. And it was a lot cheaper for us to do it that way. And it actually gave us an interesting thing. I sat through all of it, but, obviously I don't do all of those things that's covered by the new regulations, but there's some recognition that I would need to, you know, have a good understanding about what my departments do. So, that's the training that we are continuing to do. In fact, what we're doing now is, the state surveyors have just gotten their guidance about how to implement the new stuff. So we printed off all their guidance. I've given it to each department head. And each department head now is doing a presentation during our morning meeting. We have morning meeting every morning at 9 o'clock where we discuss resident related issues. Usually lasts about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. Now we're having it go on like 10 or 15 minutes longer. And each department head is giving a presentation on their new sections of the regulations. So this morning, we just had dietary dining experience. On Tuesday, we did abuse and neglect. So next week, we'll start doing other things. And that'll help us prepare for our annual inspection.
Yes,
Okay, so, obviously, you've got the population, of the nursing home in terms of residents. You have staff, they're in and out of the world, if you will. But the residents also have contact with, visitors, family members, whatever. They're also coming in, so are you exercising some sort of regime with regard to visitors in terms of trying to?
We asked them not to come in if they don't feel well. You know, that's pretty much it. And I think the visitors have been, our visitors have been really, really good about that. I understand in other nursing homes, you know, they've had other issues. The counties talk via video once a month, and share issues, for the 11 county nursing homes.
Mhm.
And some of those county nursing homes are, have had some issues. We don't ask to test or any of those kinds of things, which was something that was discussed a number of years ago when COVID first started. We don't do any of those things, but we just ask people if they don't feel well, please, you know, delay your visit.
Well, your system is working to this point, whether it's magical or good luck or whatever, it's working, so we, bless your efforts and hope that you continue to, because I remember when you were sick. Okay, and I remember how sick you were, that was before there was a vaccine, so, obviously, you recovered pretty well.
And the only thing I've lost is my sense
Some sense of smell.
really?
permanently. It's been 5 years in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it's-
You can get it back if you want to. I can tell you how.
Are there any other questions or comments on?
No, I'm good,
on the
thank you.
budget? Second bullet, is there a second or anything? She's looking. Okay, moving on. We are now looking at the social behavior unit. Weren't we the first nursing home to have?
Yeah, now there's 3 of us,
Yeah.
Hillsborough, Cheshire. Hillsborough, so there's one in the western part of the state, one in the center part of the state, and us. This budget's gone up, but our revenue's gone up greater than that. So we took the other half of one of the units, and we have 38 behavior residents in total. And it looks like it's gone up a tremendous amount until you look at nursing and realize that that's gone down, 500,000, and this has gone up.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that so you're not required to have an RN on that unit. Just the behavioral therapist
Correct.
and.
Now, it doesn't mean, as the year goes on, that we won't end up with an RN there as opposed to an LPN. I mean, it might happen.
Yeah.
But what the current requirement is, and we far exceed that requirement, is that you have one RN in the building 8 hours a day.
That's it?
That's the current requirement. We obviously have many more RNs than that. We have many more RNs per shift. We have every one of our supervisors is an RN. We have RNs, and the only thing that we can have at Hyder is RNs. We cannot have LPNs well, it's not true. If there's one time in the years that we've run Hyder that we had a specially trained LPN, but by and large, that was just that one time. All of our nurses at Hyder are RNs because of the nature of the medication and things that we do there
So
that we
that's,
don't do at Riverside.
that's why we see the third line down as a big increase.
That's
There was
correct.
0, 0,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but it's like, but then in the licensed practical nurses goes down 228,000, so I think he's saying that's like the net is 500K, around 500K.
Well, it's actually, if you look at nursing, it went down 491,000 and this one went up 677, but if you look at the revenue section
Yeah,
for that department, it went up 532,000.
Does anyone has any
So if you
questions?
look at the three of them together,
yeah, you can't look at the revenue till this afternoon.
I'm sorry, if you look at the three of them together, they come out about flat.
Okay. They're awfully quiet this morning. Any questions or concerns on this portion of the budget? Okay, there being none, we'll now look at the resident services. Tell us what that means, please.
It's all of the assessments and documentation, for all of our residents. So in order to comply with federal requirements, you have to do what's called an MDS document, which stands for absolutely nothing that makes any sense. It stands for minimum data set. But what it is there needs to be an annual assessment and a quarterly assessment. The annual is the big assessment. The quarterly is I wouldn't call it a mini assessment because it's more than that. Plus they develop all the care plans, which are the plans for the care of every resident, which could be, 6 or so. I just looked at one yesterday, it was 6 pages long. Which tells you how to manage every aspect of the resident, that needs what they might need. Now, obviously, they're not all the same,
Right,
because all of our residents have different issues.
it's kind of like an IEP.
It's exactly like an IEP. Yeah, except this is, obviously, really in depth about everything imaginable. So they're responsible we do quarterly care planning meetings where we bring the families or the guardians in and go over each aspect. Now, if there is a significant change in the resident's condition of some kind, good or bad, in terms of overall health, we have to do a significant change form, which is another form of this MDS document, which will definitely change the care plan too. So all of those, that's a big part of our, it's a state inspection, but they're federal inspectors. As an example, when the federal government shut down, inspections shut down. So they're federal inspectors. So our inspection is likely to be later this year than they might otherwise be, because of the first shutdown, not so much because of the second shutdown. Although we got a call that they were shut down again during a few days of this last shutdown. So they work out of the state office, but they're federal. They work under the federal guidelines. these documents are what drives the resident care. So as an example, when a nurse's aide comes in, say they're floating from a different unit and aren't used to the residents, they get a little section of the care plan that deals with their responsibility, or they will be getting they get a little section of the care plan that deals with how they need to care for. Is it a one-person transfer? Is it a two-person transfer? Is it a Hoyer lift? Is it, just everything? Catheters and all the things that you're eligible to do all have to be documented to be done. And then the nurses' aides and the nurses all document via computer about how they manage the care of that particular resident, which then drives the next care planning session or the significant change to redo the documents all over again. And that's every nursing home has to do that.
I was impressed with the first paragraph talking about the functions, and then I liked the fact that the goals are listed. The families and the caretakers are aware of what the goals are and what you're trying to achieve with these
Yeah, we
residents.
can't change, any medications. We really don't change any, significant care issues, without the knowledge of the family. And examples in the old days would be that I mentioned earlier in dietary about the ITSE diets that we use. A part of the ITSE diet also is educating the family not to bring in things that would violate that diet. Because if you do, it messes everything up. And the thing you're worried about is somebody choking, you're worried about aspiration pneumonia and things like that, which for our residents could be a fatal issue.
Yeah.
So, it's the occupational therapist and the dietitian work together to educate the families about, bringing in items that are consistent with the ITSE diet that everybody has. Everybody has some level of ITSE, even if it means nothing, in the sense that they can go to McDonald's and have a hamburger, which none of our residents.
I'm impressed.
None of our
with that.
residents leave.
I'm
They
impressed with the fact that.
They used to. I used to have one.
Theory.
No, I used to have one that would take the bus.
Really?
Yeah, but he can't do that anymore. He got lost, at least twice. Jen found him once, our director of nurses is here. They found him once and, it scared me. Yeah.
It used to be people considered putting someone in a nursing home to warehouse them, and I'm impressed with the fact that families are involved, others are involved, friends and all, and that you're keeping the communications open and keeping people involved, which I think helps the residents a great deal.
And the other thing that we're doing a lot of is involving the community. The bank, actually not a bank.
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse Credit Union is our latest they've kind of adopted us. And they're just doing, as well as a very kind soul from the community, who I think it happens to be here, has kind of adopted us for Valentine's Day, of really helping our residents appreciate Valentine's Day.
Right.
So Susan Rice did some tremendous stuff for us, and we really appreciate it.
It's tremendous. It's just.
It's tremendous. And Lighthouse Credit Union has also kind of adopted us too. So, and we developed a longer relationship. We are also back training LNAs for Dover. And I think it's more than Dover, but it's concentrates in Dover. And they come in 3 nights a week And we actually, that's really great for us because they're doing their clinical with us. But it's also nice because, they can be on-call people for us when they get licensed. And they're off during the summer. And a lot of my people, are on vacation during the summer. So they can come in and help us during the summer and they know the residents because they trained with us. So it's a nice situation. But last night was one of the training nights and I was here when they were coming in and there's a huge group this year. There's, it looked like close to 40.
Yeah.
40 young men and women, mostly women, but a number of men. We hope that,
This time, I saw like 5 or 6, which is a lot for the field. But there were a lot of them here the other day,
the
so.
hope is that they're, aspire to be nurses. And this is some good legwork for them. And it's good for us too, again, because a lot of them will want to work for us during the summer.
I have one of those. It's like my daughter did it with Portsmouth Hospital. It was all the UNH students who are trying to get clinical work, or going to nursing or going to go to med school. It's such a good experience for them.
We do, we work with UNH, mostly at Hyder. A lot of the nurses, want a hospice experience that it's impossible to get in any one specific location. Because there's only a couple of hospitals, there's 3 hospice houses in New Hampshire, so. We're obviously the closest one to UNH, so we will, and we have interns also that, work at, out of Hyder, mostly Hyder.
Any more comments on this portion of the budget? Okay, moving on. The very next one is page 30, and it's Riverside maintenance.
Now, you'll see that this has gone way up, but if you look at the courthouse, it's gone way down.
Okay.
The courthouse maintenance, hang on, I'm almost positive it's $199,000 reduction in the courthouse, but let me, I don't want to say that and tell you the wrong amount, but hang on 1 second. Yeah, for this one. The $180,000 decrease in the courthouse. So ultimately, there's a $25,000 savings. And what we did is combine the maintenance departments.
Are you talking about, we're on page 30, right?
Right,
You have an increase of 100 and,
54.
yes.
And the courthouse maintenance, this building's maintenance went down 180.
So then why are we spending more? And it's not, why aren't we?
Cause what we're doing is putting the maintenance in one location and then distributing the work out. So we're saving $25,000 by doing that.
Vehicle repairs. What do we have for vehicles? How old are they? What are we doing?
Well, we have 3 transportation vans, one of which was donated to us, brand new from, New Hampshire Charitable Fund.
Wow.
From an unknown donor. We have no idea who it was, but it's a bariatric van. So our heavier residents can be transported because they couldn't be transported in our regular transportation vans. And we have 2 transportation vans. They have around 50,000 miles each, so we know we can get, another few years out of them. And then they take the residents to appointments. Every once in a great while, a family member will bring a resident, but it's pretty difficult because a lot of our residents can only transport by wheelchair. So it's nearly impossible for the family member to transfer somebody from, and even if we help them transfer them in, when they get to the doctor, there's nobody there to help them transfer them out and then back in. So what we'll do frequently is invite the family member to go with, follow us or meet us at the doctor's appointment if they want to. So we have two transportation people that do that. They also, when they're not transporting the residents, they'll do resident shopping. If the resident wants certain snacks or not so much clothing, because we do clothing shows in the facility. So the residents can go around and look at the clothing they want, and it's actually quite inexpensive. And they can just pick it out and we have our finance person that goes with them and to make sure they have enough money to pay for, those clothing items.
Are these donated items?
No, but we have some number of our residents come in with nothing. I mean, no clothes. I mean, they clothes on their back and maybe a few clothes. We have a number of donated items that the staff bring in. And sometimes the difficulty is the fit. Because some of our residents are, pretty big and we don't have staff that can donate like that. But what we do have is, we run our golf tournament every year. And that golf tournament raises, between $10,000 and $12,000. And, we can use that money for buying of clothing for some of our residents. We also use it for special events for particular residents that could be anything from wanting to go to a baseball game because they've never been to one. We've sent residents, a motorcycle club come in and they took a resident for a ride in a sidecar because she always wanted to go for a ride in a sidecar. We've had trips where husbands and
Takes all kinds.
wives want to go to a picnic where they first met, and we'll hire a limo for them to bring them to the picnic. We also,
milestone birthdays at Newark's.
a lot of times we'll have or families that come from a distance away, and there'll be they'll wanna quote, take their family out to eat, which in effect, the golf tournament funds. There are things that we would never ask the taxpayer to fund. I mean, we ask the taxpayers for plenty. We wouldn't want the taxpayer to fund something that's specific to one individual resident. This is what we use the golf money for. And also, this kind of stuff would not be reimbursable. Of course, it doesn't matter because we get reimbursed for a good portion of our operation anyway. But at least not from the state. Hopefully not a case.
So,
Well, I
Ray,
think there's one
about
more.
how many beriatric people do we have? You have roughly.
Hang on.
Maintenance, right?
Mhm.
Cause I write to.
Probably up 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Now that's not, we get inquiries for more, but we can only take 1 or 2 bariatric people on a particular unit. Because there's times when it takes 3 to 4 aides to provide care for that one person at any one time.
I understand these fundamental issues, but the question of whether we have 6 or 7 or whether we have 40 or 50 is a big deal in terms of understanding what you're dealing with and therefore what we have to provide for in some fashion.
6 or 7 of what we call bariatric would be 450 pounds to over 450 to 500 pounds.
Okay, well, I understand what bariatric means. Thank you.
Go ahead, Kelly, did you have something?
Yeah, so I wanna just talk about, line item for the maintenance crew.
Sure.
So, so we're basically looking at, 110 or $113,000 increase in regards with that. So that's, I assume that's salaries.
That's correct.
Okay, so why are we right now increasing any salaries at all? There should be a freeze on hiring and there should be a freeze on any salary increases. Because I know that our constituents are not getting increases in salaries. I know I'm not getting any increase in salary. So, that's what we should be doing.
This is a
across the
hiring
board.
reduction. It's not a hiring increase. If you compared the maintenance departments from this building and the maintenance departments at Riverside, you'll see that we have lesser people. It's just focused on one set of supervisors.
Okay, are you giving raises?
Yes,
Okay, no,
okay.
No.
Well,
there should be no raises happening. at
That'll
all.
certainly
Across
be,
the board.
that'll certainly be coming up for a vote of the delegation.
What is the percentage of raises?
Well, if all in total, it's 4%, a step, a 2% step and a 2% cost of living
Okay.
is the way it's the way it's budgeted. And that's been the agreement with the 4 unions.
So those are union agreements that you're talking about anyway.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we also mirror that for the non-union people.
So
So we don't have more than 4 unions.
So for clarification, if you wanted to say theoretically do the no, you'd have to open up the negotiation with the union again to do that.
That's
right?
correct.
Let's do it. We should be doing that right now.
Just, we're waiting to hear from if it's gonna be up to the delegation.
I know, but these are the types of things, these are the hard decisions that we have to make when we are literally, the sky is falling right now. So, I mean, I don't know if everybody's kind of watching what's going on in this country, but it's intense. And what was the increase that you guys had in your county tax in Milton?
12% increase.
But it's gotta stop. It has to stop. People cannot afford this any longer. So how much was the increase that, of course, I voted against because it was ridiculous when it came through, that was last budget cycle, which was like gonna be split over 2 or whatever. This was the increase, of course, in the sheriffs, but the worst part about it was the increase in the attorney fees. Like, what were those increases? What did we experience, which was this ridiculous, it was like a 50% increase that we did. Remember that? That was last time.
$50,000 increase.
It-
in one
it-
salary.
$50,000 increase in one salary.
If you're interested in this, next week
Yeah.
is the salary.
I know that.
And so you're welcome to come and we can discuss that.
That was for the county attorney. That wasn't for the attorneys.
Right, one.
That was for one
One,
person.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, I don't participate in that. I don't know what to tell you. I don't participate in salaries for people that I work for.
Okay.
I
Yes,
just have
go
a
ahead.
question about the step plan.
Mhm.
What is your increment on the step?
2%.
Yeah, 2%, but what's the increment in time that they receive it? Is it every year they
No,
receive?
It's
step
as it's negotiated.
per person,
Correct. Well, not per person, per
department?
department. There's 4 unions. There is the Riverside Union, the jail union, and 2 in the sheriff's department. Deputies and non-deputies,
Is that,
supervisors.
is that usually like 3 years or like?
No, they're all 1-year contracts, and I'll tell you why. They're 1-year contracts because of the cost of health insurance. We don't pay a percentage of health insurance. We give a subsidy. So if health insurance goes up, the absent an agreement to the contrary, the entire increase goes on to the employee. So if, let's say a lot of places are, I don't know what it is in your community, but in a lot of places it's 80-20.
Yeah, usually it's the
Yes.
standard.
So if your health insurance goes up and you're operating off of an 80-20 concept, you're walking into negotiations where the municipality is paying 80% of the increase. Because you're paying 80-20. With us, the county pays nothing of the increase. The employees have to have that as part of their negotiations.
Is it something that we could do, just maybe doing it over, let's say, a 5 or 6 year to show, like in general, where salaries were overall and the increases every single year? Could we
Sure.
get that on a little spreadsheet?
Sure.
I'd like to see that.
If you can give me till the middle of next week, I'm happy to do that.
That'd be
As soon
great.
as my finance person comes back from in Utah, I'll get you all that information.
Yeah, I'd really like that, especially for that meeting.
Sure.
Great.
I think I can have it to you by Wednesday.
Cool.
Any other comments on this portion of the budget? There being none, because we're now going to on page 31, this is the laundry and sewing. Is the laundry exclusively for Riverside, or are we doing something for the jail or what?
All of the above. We do laundry for Riverside. We do laundry for, the jail. Actually, the jail does laundry for us. I'm sorry. We do our residents' laundry. The jail does our linen. And the jail does laundry for, the Humane Society, Wentworth Douglas. Depending on how busy Wentworth Douglas is. If they're maxed out, then we will take their overflow laundry and we charge them by the pound. And we do their laundry and ship it back to them. Again, that's mostly, that's linen. And obviously we do laundry for Hire House. At the jail. And we pay $2 an hour for the people that fold and $5 an hour for the people that do the actual laundry.
We have questions on this portion of the budget?
And that's why you see outside services, that the outside services is an in and out item. In other words, that's the money we use to pay the inmates and then we do that so that we can put that in as part of our cost report.
Okay, we had paid overtime,
No
we're
overtime.
budgeted overtime. At 20,900 last year, now we're doing 10,000, how do we know the?
We're better managing our, we just have a more stable workforce.
Okay.
A lot of our laundry and housekeeping people are people that were nurses' aides. And can't, just can't do the physical work anymore. So they, when there's an open position in another department, they will apply for that position. Cause it's less physical work.
Nice. Do I have permission to ask a question? Not being on the committee.
Oh, sure.
I'm not on the committee either. You got a
Yeah, he's not on
question,
the
ask it.
committee.
What?
Get back there. Please, move your chair back.
I'm grappling with the overtime.
Sure.
I'm really
Don't
grappling.
get me mad now, Representative. I'm an ex-Marine, you never know, I'll fly off the hand.
My husband's name's
So,
Peter,
yeah.
so I just automatically love you just because your name's Peter.
Don't worry, he offered his lap before you were here.
Yeah.
Sorry, just have to throw that in.
I was aware of the fact she wasn't here yet.
Is that overtime for the people in the jail that are actually
No.
performing this duty?
No, this is overtime for people in the nursing home. We don't pay overtime for inmates.
Okay, I wanna make sure I get.
No, they make $5 an hour.
$5 an hour.
Yeah, and I'd invite you at any time, it's an awful job.
I know I do it every week at my home.
No, I mean, this is, these are
Industrial.
Yeah, these are huge.
Industrial,
industrial.
Gotta get on
washers.
your husband's case, Joe.
These are huge industrial washers that
Yes,
aren't,
a lot of work.
it's not climate controlled. And the dryers are 100-pound dryers. So.
Where are they? Where is it?
In the jail, if you look straight if you were driving up the jail and you look straight, it's on the left-hand side of the main.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
the right-hand side of the.
Yeah,
main
I know what you're talking about. I always wondered what that was. That's the
Yep.
laundry area.
And our jail industries area also, where we do work for a dozen different, outside companies.
You're charging $2 for those that wet or dry.
We don't take drop off.
It comes to us, some of it comes to us wet and dry.
Yeah, the drawback to that job is that it is not climate controlled, but it also deals with a significant amount of incontinence.
Significant.
Oh.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I still wanna see that operation though.
No, anytime,
I don't wanna smell the operation. I just wanna see the-
anytime.
Have to separate the two together.
Can't even imagine.
It's like conjoined twins. I see it, you can smell it.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, a match?
Any further questions on this portion of the budget?
But inmates do their own laundry too. But not linen, cause we can't put the machine, we can't put big enough machines in the housing units.
Yeah.
They do their own clothing. The laundry area in that other part of the jail does the linen, as well as nursing home and Hyder and Wentworth Douglas. And
So the overtime really piece there, cause I don't want any overtime, of course, it was really, what, people calling in, that type of thing? I mean,
yeah, we have yes, that's exactly right. Or if we have an opening that we need, coverage for because somebody's unexpectedly sick,
okay,
or, need surgery or something, we'll be forced to use,
and what does it look, just, give me would that be like a $30 an hour type of overtime? What are we looking at?
no, I'd say mid-20s
Okay.
would be the time and a half rate.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Okay,
Laundry done every day?
laundry's done every day. If Wentworth Douglas needs our help, and here I'm mostly talking about the jail. Wentworth Douglas needs our help. Sometimes it's 6 days a week. It just depends. Now they pay us, so
Yeah.
I mean, there is some income that comes in to offset any additional cost, but also, we really wanna maintain our good relationship with Wentworth Douglas. They're a primary hospital. Not exclusive, but primary.
And does that help in terms of people, transferring from the hospital to the rest home?
Yeah, in fact, we just took somebody, this week that had actually been in Wentworth Douglas for 2 months, awaiting placement. We just didn't have a bed. And so when we finally have a bed, we took her. So kind of at Riverside, in theory, our primary goal is to take people from home who are unsafe. We're looking at someone unsafe right now, in Rochester. We're, the husband's in his 80s. The wife has to wheel herself to the coast bus to get to dialysis 3 times a week because he can't bring her. So we're actually out looking at them Monday. And that was he wanted us to come on a day when she was there and not out at dialysis. So we're going out Monday to look at that. And that would be, that's a kind of thing that would take priority. So we don't go by like a strict waiting list. And our secondary, if we have nobody that's unsafe in the community, our next one is to unload the hospital. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a while because the hospital doesn't get paid after a certain point. So the hospital's basically not getting paid for caring for that person probably for a month and a half. But we finally got her in on Monday, as a matter of fact. We could have brought her in on Friday, but the family wanted to come in with her. And the 2 sons who are out of the area weren't available till Monday, so they asked if we'd wait till Monday, so we brought her in on Monday.
Doing okay?
Actually, she's doing, they thought we were going to have a hard time, and she's actually been wonderful. She was living in her car for a number of months. And the daughter stayed with her, not in her car, but the daughter brought her into her house. The mother refused, insisted on living in her car. The daughter kind of lost track of where she went. And it kind of got back in the track from the housing. The emergency housing that the cities run. And the daughter then reached out to us. Actually called George McGuire's and George called me and we went to, she spent a good amount of time in the hospital, refused to leave. The hospital couldn't discharge her because they could only place they could discharge her was back to her car. And they obviously can't do that. So we got her in as quick as we could, but I just didn't have any openings. So we got her in as fast as we could. But she was in there for 2 months in the hospital.
There are all kinds of stories, aren't there?
Well, we want to help. We have people in the hospital, so we want to help take people out of the hospital. So it works out both ways. In fact, we have 2 in the hospital, right? 3 in the hospital right now. 3. Yeah, we just talked about that at a morning meeting. I think one's due to come back anytime.
When they're in the hospital, do you hold their bed?
Yes. We're obligated by CMS rule to hold it for 10 days. But honestly speaking, we communicate with the hospital and if they're coming back in 12 days or we're not gonna give up the bed. Sometimes when a resident will transfer to like, say, Mass General and they're gonna be in there for a long time. Now, this doesn't happen very often. Apparently it happens more often with inmates than it does with, but when if they're gonna be gone for a long time, we will fill the bed, but promise them the first open bed. So as long as we communicate well with the hospital, we can usually have a bed. If you look at the odds of people leaving Riverside and you figure in a normal year, last year wasn't a normal year. In a normal year, we would probably have an open bed per week. And so if we were in communication with the hospital, we would probably have an open bed for them to come in. Now, it might not be the right unit. They might have to put up with a unit that like a dementia unit when they're not really demented, but at least we have them safe. We have them what we call back home, and then we can move them again when the time comes. So we in all the years I've been in Riverside, I've never discharged a resident. They're ours. We always take them back. We never don't take them back. That's not what we do.
We're still on page 32, right?
Wherever you want to be.
Okay. I just had a question in regards with the physician and pharmacy function goals section. So are we paying one physician, $675,000?
Absolutely not. We're paying,
So what does that break down to?
we're paying 1, 2, 3, 4 physicians. And the primary amount that goes to is Hyder House. Is the hospice house.
So just give me an example.
Sure.
One physician who's pretty much giving maybe what, 20% of his time, 25% of his time. He's not full-time because most of these are all contract based.
They're all contract.
Okay, so he's getting what, like 150, 200?
$200 an hour at the Hyder House, which could be as many as 20 hours a week.
All right, so it's a flat rate of 200 an hour.
That's correct.
Okay.
Now we
Are you
can,
familiar with, there's a lot, that's very much changing at this point.
yeah,
Okay.
we can
Meaning
bill
going down.
and we
Okay.
can bill, we bill for those services. Now, We don't get reimbursed at $200 an hour, but we can bill Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance for that. And that comes in as a miscellaneous revenue for Riverside Rest Home. You see it under Riverside miscellaneous revenue. So we do bring in a certain amount of revenue. It doesn't nearly offset our costs. When the theory of hospice is that the $500 a day or $1,100 a day that we get per resident at Hyder House, you know, substantially more than the nursing home. So let me just be specific. If we have somebody there for respite, so the family's providing
Yeah.
home care, they're on hospice.
Yeah.
But they need a respite break. We get about $550 a day for that respite.
Mhm.
Now, our doctor needs to come in and see them. You know, at least in what's called an admission note.
Yeah,
And has to be on call 24/7.
correct.
Okay. The other type of service that we provide is like a routine care, which again is around $550 a day. And then we provide what's called general inpatient care, which is people that are usually have 3 to 5 days to live.
Yeah.
And that reimburses us at about $1,100 a day. The difference is on the GIP, we have to pay for the medication. On the respite, the hospice provides the medication.
Yeah, I get it.
So we actually probably in a lot of cases make more money carrying, you know, from a financial standpoint, we make more money caring for respite people. Because some of the medications that we use are pretty expensive. Dilaudid, fentanyl are pretty expensive. Morphine, you know, people think, oh, morphine, use morphine. Well, morphine doesn't use if you have an organ failure. Because morphine processes through your organs. So if somebody's dying, chances are they have a good amount of organ failure. If that's the case, then the medication switches to IM pumps.
Yeah.
Which is either fentanyl or Dilaudid,
It's a lot of.
one of the two.
Can we switch back from physicians to what our next section was, please, which was housekeeping?
No, I'm
Can I
going through
have
that.
one question about that?
Mhm.
You know, my mom was on hospice, but she never did see a doctor ever. It was nurses that did all the intake. Well, but then the doctor just reviewed it. I mean, is it possible that our physician contract could be less and more nursing in?
Not and provide quality of care in a hospice house.
Okay.
I'm not sure if your mom ever went into a hospice house, but if she did, a doctor would have seen
Okay.
her.
No, it's just.
And also our hospice house rules, because it's licensed under the nursing home. We have to follow some nursing home rules for our hospice house, which includes with our requirement is within 3 days of admission, we have a doctor see,
Okay.
the resident or patient, depending on
Mhm.
which place they're in. So we continue that rule, something I've learned, because I read every doctor's note from the hospice house. And I read not every doctor's note from the nursing home. It'd be hundreds of pages a week. But I read every note from the hospice house, and something I've learned is that our doctors talk to the family and the patient at the hospice house. And I'm learning how little the families know about their actual loved one's health situation. I'm actually shocked because the notes are about 3 pages long, you know, typed, single space typed. And a lot of it discusses the discussion between the family and the doctor. We will frequently change medications from what the hospice have been giving them. All the time, when they come in general inpatient, we change medications, always. When they come in for respite, it's up to the hospice to change the medication, but our docs will make recommendations. The other thing is, one of the head doctor is board certified in palliative care. And, is one of the handful of doctors in New Hampshire that is board certified in palliative care. And none of the local hospices have a board certified palliative care head of medical. None of them do. In
Do
fact,
families know so little because they just don't know, or because they're not being informed, or what?
I've come to think it's all different reasons. I think it's some of them that it's a shock. I remember when my dad, I got a call that my dad's cancer had spread all over, and I remember where I was standing. I'm not sure I remember all the words that the doctor told me.
Mhm.
Cause it's just such
Hard to
a,
process.
it's such a process. So I'm not saying that the hospitals or the hospice isn't telling them. I'm saying that maybe they're just not grasping it. And, that could be one of the reasons. The other reason is hospitals are focused on curing people and sending them home. Hospice houses are focused on, for lack of a better term, a good death. And so it's like a whole different focus. And in fact, what you'll find is, hospitals like Wentworth Douglas has a palliative care team now that will meet with families separate from their treating physicians, separate from the hospitalists who provide the primary care. Wentworth Douglas, I don't believe has a palliative care team. I'm sorry, Trisbee does not. Wentworth Douglas has. And in fact, we're trying to recruit one of the docs to cover a day a week to help us cover a day a week. Because we just have 2 doctors that are covering that. And that becomes
That's a very stressful, emotional time for families. Would it be helpful to have some type of,
Me too.
I'm sorry.
would it be helpful to have some type of
It's just a little.
written about script? Or what?
Yeah. We use.
That's what I need to know.
Okay.
I might add,
yeah.
my mom, not my mom, my sister was in Hyder House and I lived there.
Oh, that's the other advantage.
That was the other advantage. I lived there. I was involved in every moment of what was going on with the doctors and the nurses, and it's a pleasure.
Her mom has been.
She just lost her mom. What is it?
Last Friday, Thursday.
Well, should we take a break?
Whatever.
Why don't we take a break for a few minutes, okay? Because I don't want Jessica to miss anything.
Yeah, that's why last Friday's meeting changed.
Oh,
You can't stop this.
we all set? Okay, Kelly has one more question, but then we are going to go back to housekeeping and keep moving on. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so,
No.
this actually goes based upon what Representative Lamontagne had questioned. And, in regards with that number, which is a huge number in regards with the physicians. I understand that there's certain requirements or whatever that you have, nursing home, Hyder House and stuff. But, and it's been going on for actually really since COVID. And I know that $200 an hour, whatever, there are so many more in that pool that are willing, because they have full-time jobs pretty much, that are willing to do that contract work. I really truly believe that we could save money in that line item, and I really think that should be looked at.
I wish I could find one, because I'm trying now, and I can't find anybody. I'm trying to find somebody
I'm
that,
talking about doctors and nurse practitioners, because it's both.
I agree.
Okay, I just,
As long as you can get a board certified nurse practitioner.
Correct.
In palliative care.
Yeah.
There was 3 in New Hampshire. We employed one. She moved to Florida,
Yeah.
unfortunately, with her family.
Yeah.
Lynn Devlin, who was fantastic. But we are continuing to look. because I would like to replace, I need to get ready to replace one of our doctors at Hyder, who's now 81.
Oh, 81, that young. Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to, just kind of piggyback on that. Okay.
Good.
No, well, it is for whatever Medicare doesn't.
So, okay, we are now going back to housekeeping, please, on page 32, at the top of the page. New equipment, that's the one place where I saw new equipment, if I read that correctly. Or did I read it correctly?
We did, it says it's 297 there, new equipment for.
Yeah, $5,560.
Yeah. And that is for, for equipment, was it?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah, we were working from, you came in a little late, we're working from, the focus pages.
Oh, yeah, I have all that. I'm there.
Yeah, I believe it was floor equipment, that was for, that you
I'm
used.
sorry, what?
It's just
Floor equipment.
floor equipment.
Floor equipment, okay, and that does that on.
The scrubber floor.
So the one thing I just wanted to mention about housekeeping, because you'll see that it's gone up. I've created a position. So when I told you there was 15.5 positions eliminated from the budget, it was actually 16.5 positions eliminated and one position added, which brings it down to 15.5. So I have a person who, when a room is vacant, now strips the floors, repaints the room, and that's all it happens to be, that's all he does. We will, because they're all two-person rooms, we will relocate the roommate, for the day, during the day, maybe bring he or she down to activities or somewhere, and he will just go through the whole room. Repaint it all, strip the floors, replace the cove base. There's new suggestions about the height of the cove base to help eliminate falls, those kinds of things. So, he can do a room in a day. Wow. He works pretty hard and but he's really good at it. And that way, it's a way for us to, and the halls are easy, right? I mean, you can run a scrubbing machine up and down the halls. That works pretty easy. Doing rooms is more difficult. So when we have a vacant room, we move the roommate out, he goes in like a tornado and does that room over. So that's a position that I added because, the rooms we've just never done that before. We just cleaned the rooms as best we could, and now we're just going through the whole thing. So I wanted to just identify that.
Have you noticed like a significant change when it comes to?
Huge.
that?
And the residents are happier too. And the other thing is, we'd have things like, cords hanging, to connect TVs and stuff. So we put all that in the code base and into those, the plastic channel things. It makes the room just look a lot nicer and neater. And the floors are, cause they're stripped and then re-waxed, are a lot cleaner, although we have to be careful because we don't want to make them too shiny, because if they're too shiny, they will fall. But we make sure we use slipper socks. So slipper socks are a big help. In fact, if we don't have any residents walk around in regular socks.
Thank you, Ray. We're moving to page 33 at the very top, infection prevention. Yeah, you touched a little bit on that early on, but do you have anything else to add?
No, I know it's not a universally accepted, practice, but we vaccinate for COVID, we vaccinate, actually, we don't, for flu, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
We have to vaccinate for flu. At least we have to offer the vaccine. That's a federal requirement.
Is it consent?
Oh, it's all consent.
Oh, by
It's
consent.
it's all by consent, and if the resident can't consent, it's the family that we ask, or who's ever legally responsible person. And New
So
Hampshire has a pretty good
controversy on
law
this
about that.
COVID, I just wanna make sure that our patients are actually being.
I guarantee you that we have to document the consent.
Okay.
And, again, it's, if
Yeah, it's a
it's
signed
been-
form, isn't it?
it is, and if it's determined that, our person has a responsible person, if we don't, if they can't consent, the responsible person has to consent. That's why it's not 100% vaccination.
So you're telling me somebody's getting paid $134,000 to be a coordinator of infection control?
I am telling you that. That's a certified, position that is required. It's a RN that is, I am telling you that, yes.
You're telling me that.
Okay, and Ray has touched a little bit on the clinical recruitment, development, and infection control. Do you have more to add to that?
No, other than we're fully staffed. You know, so the only positions we would be hiring, we will hire on-call people. You know, like, I hope to hire all of these, or as many of these young trainees that we're doing from Dover High. They just have to be 18. Because they can't use like mechanical lifts. They can't use any mechanical devices, which in most cases are lifts and tubs and that, unless they're 18. That's a federal requirement. Which is really foolish, because you can be licensed as a nurse's aide in New Hampshire, but you can't work in a nursing. I can't make any sense out of that.
Sometimes you never.
But we don't work on the basis of what makes sense.
Okay.
And it's a federal requirement, it's not a state requirement, because if it's a state requirement, we would try and pursue it through the Board of Nursing. But it's a federal requirement, it's a CMS requirement.
Rehab services, pretty important on page 34. Talk to us about that.
Now-
please.
I can't find a physical therapist, so we're using a contract, we're going to start in April using a contract agency. 3 days a week. We've changed over the head of our rehab services to our occupational therapist. As opposed to our physical therapist was running the department. Now it's our occupational therapist that runs the department. And she, some of their task overlaps between PT and OT. We use our OT a lot for swallowing assessments, which isn't usual. It's not actually part of their license. She had to go for a special thing a special program to get licensed. But she, at least, she's licensed to do that. So if we have a swallowing question, again, we don't need to send somebody out to the hospital. What's the test? Is Jen still there? Yeah, what's the test at the hospital? The swallowing test called?
Oh, like a fees test.
Yeah.
Yep, we do fees right in the home. now.
So we do them now at the facility.
I'm not sure what the acronym is.
It actually works out pretty well. And I think we get a better compliance because the resident feels, that they feel at home as opposed to being in the hospital, which can be scary for a number of our people. Not everybody, but probably
Janet,
50-75% of our people.
And again, you have individual plans and you work on activities of daily living. If you read the caption above or the paragraphs above, it talks about the duties.
The other thing we do is a lot with wheelchairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a special carve out in Medicaid. Where we can get specialized wheelchairs for our residents that aren't. We use the word conformed because that's just an awful word. But are physically better in a certain type of wheelchair. In fact, we just got two this week.
Are these electric or what?
Some are, most aren't.
Okay.
And we have a company that comes in and does that and manages it directly with Medicaid. We're not involved we're not a middle person.
Yeah, okay, so a couple different things. So we talked about the physical therapist, that position right there, in a sense, that 70. that $72,000 position is now gonna be 21 because you're gonna contract that out, right?
Correct.
Okay, but then you increased underneath the part-time aides and stuff by like 45,000, and then and this is the biggest one, the fees and outside services, you increased by 68,000, so we're spending 100 grand more almost overall, so if we're gonna start using some private contracting, which could save some cash, then I just feel as if, you know, we did a good thing on one and then we're increasing all over the board. So I don't understand that.
Our goal is to do more skilled care. Which went from 410,000 in revenue to a projected $730,000 in revenue. So yes, this went up 94,000, but the revenue went up 320,000. We're with the staffing the way it lays out, we feel we'll be able to have to depend less on other facilities and take more of our people back, which not only brings us in additional revenue, but simultaneous with that, we won't be losing the bed. You know, because if we send somebody to another nursing home, as I had said earlier, we don't get paid for it, you know.
Right,
when the
it
bed's
just sits
vacant. This way, we can keep the bed full. Yes, it's 94,000 increase, but it's 310,000 in increased revenue. That's on the revenue page of the budget. In fact, it's working. We have we will, in the next day or so, have 4 skilled care people. Yet, people that have come to us, come back to us, our own.
Any other questions or comments on the second? Okay. Now, if you look, turn to page 35, it's activities department. That's a good department. Really wonderful with the residents and what they're able to provide for activities.
We're actually just doing it a little more efficiently, and we were able to eliminate a position and a half, or position in 2/3.
We are spending over $500,000 on activity aids.
Yes,
How many people is it?
170,
170 people.
170 residents.
Oh, no,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant,
Whoa.
That's,
I'll tell you right now.
We have staff here from the Riverside Restaurant. And you've been pretty quiet. Do you have anything you need to say? If at any time, please speak up, okay?
Okay.
11.
11.
11.
12,
Wow.
counting the director of the program.
Somebody have a calculator to do that? Do that math, please.
And they have some really neat activities and people are always involved with something else. I've dropped in before. And I've seen a lot of people working on different projects and all, the crafts and all. It's
12 and
really wholesome and active. It's great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Like
We
45,000.
do night,
45,
activities as well,
45.
so that helps with falls. So
Yes.
if they're doing an activity, we have more eyes on, folks. So
That's great. Thanks an awful lot.
So it's 7 days a week, and it's 8 to 8.
The time frame.
Yes, it's 8 to 8. So we have a group that comes in at 8 and works till 4, and we have a group that comes in at noon and works till 8. So there's some overlap in the noon time on. So a lot of our group programs and individual programs are in that after lunch time frame when we have the extra aides. But we do have aides we have 2 aides that work from noon to 8.
Are these skilled individuals? I mean, can it be me? Can I go over there and do that? Or-
If you have that skill, if you have that entertaining skill, we also use them, to help feed. Because as I mentioned earlier, they're all licensed feeders. I know that's probably
Licensed
not
feeders.
the nicest of terms, but they're people who have been educated.
No, there's a training for it. It's
that
like a
can make
certificate,
training.
yes.
Yeah.
Feeding.
Especially
And,
with swallowing
and,
problems.
because on our dementia unit, as an example,
We have about 17 people.
17 people
That-
need that help.
there's that need help feeding. And you can't feed like 4 or 5 at a time. It doesn't quite work that way. So we'll send our activities department up to feed. We'll send our aides from the physical therapy department up to help feed.
And
Our-
on nights that were very short management.
So these are multifaceted individuals. These are just, it's not like Susan going over there and helping.
No,
These
no,
are individuals who can fill in
And
different.
then they
tasks.
create, one of the things too is like,
That's
especially on our
Dee,
memory care.
maybe you can introduce yourself, Pete,
Oh, hi, I'm Dee Brown, I'm the assistant administrator, so I've met most of you.
who's also licensed administrators.
Correct. I also is one of the things is I'm going up in the evenings, like we do activity and programs up on the dementia unit because that's a key time for falls, wandering, incidents, things like that. So they engage the residents to keep them safe. So they basically work through the whole building, providing a lot of resources. It's not just like, let's go down and color. There's a lot of things with our veterans groups, with our younger residents groups. We do things with many different departments. So it's probably one of the most important things someone can have in a nursing home to keep them healthy.
It explains, yeah, they're skilled. This is not.
Yeah, very well
Susan
skilled,
going over
yes.
there.
Or you and I, either one.
So Fred, there's opportunity for family and friends to come in and participate?
Oh, we encourage it.
Yeah.
Okay. We encourage that a lot, actually. And it's primarily during like Mother's Day, Father's Day.
Yeah.
We have a summer picnic. Where we bring as many residents down and we literally set up the tents that we have from the community corrections program and we'll have a band come in from the outside and the theory is it helps to remind families what it was like when they were younger and they were the matriarch or the patriarch of the family and it's really and we also do, as was mentioned earlier by Dee, we have fairly large number, surprisingly large number of younger people. And so we actually had a rapper come in and as an outside entertainment because that's what the residents, that's what the younger residents wanted. I honestly would have never thought to provide. I guess it shows my age in this process, but
Those are good taste.
Yeah,
so we activities does a whole bunch of a whole variety of different things for the residents.
Talk with us about occupational therapy.
Again, occupational therapy is our department head for the therapies. We also bill for occupational therapy under what's called Medicare Part B. If you qualify, and we have revenues for Medicare Part B in the sum of $300,000 that we acquire in from the services that are done by occupational therapy and physical therapy. This is beyond Part A, the skilled care. This is mostly strength and conditioning. For those handful of people every year that we are able to send back home, these are key people in that area, like helping them, teaching them how to walk upstairs again. We have like certain gym equipment, so that they can learn, or condition themselves to walk around the house. We have parallel bars, in fact, just. I attended the skilled care meeting yesterday. And, skilled care is up to 100 days. As long as you continue to show improvement. So we have to meet every week to document the improvement. And, we were talking about a lady who couldn't walk when she came in. And now is walking 75 steps. I mean, now that's somebody that, you know, all other things being equal, could go home, you know, with a walker. So, you know, it's those kinds of things, you know, that occupational therapy and physical therapy does. But it also, like I said earlier, includes swallowing, it includes eating, you know, different utensils so that they can eat on their own instead of being fed.
Stroke victims.
Cognitive assessments throughout the.
Oh, that's right. They do what's called the MOCA assessment, which helps doctors understand their ability to, their knowledge in conversation. Can they really understand their illness? Do they need a guardian? Do we need to activate the durable power of attorney? New Hampshire has a really, really good law, by the way. So for those of you that were in the legislature when it passed, I know Peter's been in the legislature since they were using like chisel.
Started.
Since chisel.
There for the
stone
Constitution.
stuff.
No, it was actually the year after they got rid of cuneiform.
He knows that because he was with him. How many have you been in?
So.
4 years.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. We need term limits.
What?
That's what I said when he was chairman of the delegation.
What?
Term limits. I'm just busting you.
But we have.
Well, we need a little
really good
busted.
Law in New Hampshire that says if you were unprepared for a sudden illness, there's a hierarchy law in New Hampshire about who could speak for you if you're unable to speak, you know, starting with a spouse and then so on all the way down the line, about 8 or 10 things down. But it also does say simultaneously you need to apply for guardianship, which we help our families do, which can be a complicated process. But at least we have somebody that we can talk to. If, you know, hopefully if it's an expected illness, then, you know, they've done this in preparation.
Right.
The person has a chance to pick the person they want. But sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Okay, final section, social services. You've touched on some of this already.
Social workers are, we have one per unit, 40 or so, residents. In some units, a few more than 40 on our unit too. They are what I consider to be a key players in
Yes.
in care. They're the ones that communicate a lot with the families. If we have like a change in condition, and nursing's been in touch with the family, I'll call the social worker on the weekend or at night. And say, hey, help me with this family, you know, if I don't know them very well. Who do we need to contact besides who's listed on the piece of paper? What's the best way to approach this family? Are they attentive? I mean, is this family an attentive family? Do they have a family or is it a public guardian? If it is, you know, what's the sense? So the social workers are really key, and I'm in relatively constant communication with them, probably each one of them at least weekly during off hours and all the time during the day.
How many are there?
For but this also includes somebody that screens admissions in the sense that you know that I'm sure you've heard a lot in the legislature about the fact that the state has been very slow about approving people from on Medicaid. And when they're now CMS is look, they used to back pay for 6 months. Now they're only back paying for 60 days. So we try and screen people financially before they come into the facility. So we have a person that does that. So there's 5 people paid out of that line item.
Any other questions or concerns? I want to say thank you to Ray, thank you for staff for being here, thank you, Janet, also. If you have more questions, we all have that packet with more details in it. So feel free to look at that. We had a thorough, coverage of the budget for Riverside today, and I am now looking for a motion.
Actually, I need to read something
I'm
before,
sorry, what?
I need to read something before we kind of go there.
Okay.
Sorry. So, of course, Ray knows that I asked for some information in regards with, and this is, this isn't my wheelhouse, of course. Learning a lot. I've been learning a lot and researching since, being on the subcommittee. But we're talking about money. And so, I didn't realize of the reporting mechanisms and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a cost report that goes out every year. 2025 is in the process of getting completed. So I have 2024 and I want it going all the way back. Like I want a full, basically since, going back to 2017. But just based upon 2024, it is 7,165,000. That's what was on the cost report loss. And what that really means economically, and I really need to have this go on the record. So, so basically, this is the closest thing to a real profit and loss statement. And this is for a nursing home. So the Medicaid cost report, it's not a political document. It's not a budget wish list. It's a standardized, federally required accounting statement that all Medicaid certified nursing facilities must file. So providers are required to report actual revenues and actual expenses, allocate indirect and overhead costs so that only expenses attributable to the licensed nursing facility are included. And they have to use, of course, consistent definitions across providers. So because of this structure, the reported loss of 7,165,426 for 2024 is functionally the operating loss of the Riverside Rest Home Nursing Home, as if it were like a standalone business. So in other words, if Riverside Rest Home were not owned by the county, it would have lost over $7.5 million in 1 year. 1 year. The loss reflects structural operations, not like a one-time anomaly. A Medicaid cost report loss of this size indicates that 1, reimbursement rates are materially below the cost of providing care. We all know that. That's a systemic failure. 2, fixed costs, staffing, benefits, and utilities and clients do not scale down fast enough as census declines. And this is the kind of stuff that I was talking about in our subcommittee. This is truly where that I'm not a numbers type person at all, and this is not my space of expertise. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where your average person can do simple math and be like, okay, well, this doesn't add up. The facility 3, the facility is operating below its economic break-even census. So this is not a timing issue or an accounting artifact. It reflects a structural mismatch between what Medicaid, the dominant payer, pays and what it actually costs to run the home at current census levels. So basically, county ownership masks, but it does not eliminate the loss. So in a private facility, a $7.2 million operating loss would trigger the following: immediate downsizing or closure, sale of the asset, bankruptcy, or restructuring. In a county-owned facility, that same loss is absorbed by taxpayers, spread across the county tax base, and embedded inside the departmental budgets instead of appearing as a single red number. The proposed 2026 budget shows 39.34 million in RRH expenditures, with the gap between expenditures and revenues made up through taxation. So that this 2026 proposed budget, the Medicaid cost report tells you how much of that gap is not temporary, but structural. Why the loss matters more than the budget alone? The budget answers the question. How much money are we planning to spend? The Medicaid cost report answers the most important question. Does the business model work at all? A $7.165 million loss in a single year means, even at today's staffing levels and census, the operation cannot sustain itself. Any new building, major renovation, or long-term recommitment would lock in decades of future losses. Capital investment would increase, not reduce taxpayer exposure. This is why the loss figure is so critical to policy decisions about reinvestment versus exit versus literally a pathway for the future. So the real-time operational reality at Riverside Rest Home is economically, in its best mode, is below sustainable census, high fixed cost intensity, Medicaid dominant payer mix, rising labor, benefit, insurance, and compliance cost, declining ability to spread overhead across residents. And as, of course, the census falls, cost per residence rise, further widens the loss, creating basically a feedback loop that cannot be corrected through management alone. So I won't go on, but my bottom line here is this. The $7.165 million Medicaid cost report is the strongest available economic evidence that we can have right at our disposal. And I'm going to give you all the way back from 2017, once we have 2025, that's going to show you this picture of that. That's what we need. We need data. And it shows this evidence that just from 2024, that it's operating at a structural deficit, not a cyclical one. The proposed budget shows how that deficit is financed through taxpayers. Together, they are demonstrating that continued county ownership transfers ongoing operator losses and long-term liability from the healthcare system directly onto the tax base. And so, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. And I know that you're working in this environment, but you knew when I'm asking these questions where I'm coming from.
Well, you're right.
Okay.
I can't, and I'll tell you one thing further, for as long as the state doesn't properly fund Medicaid, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
I agree. So
It's not going to get better, for anyone. Whether we be a county home, a private home, they all operate off the same structure. So for as long as the state continues not to fund Medicaid at a level at which it should, and it acknowledges it by saying, well, this is what you should get reimbursed. However, we don't have enough money, so we're gonna cut everybody's reimbursement 30%.
and all it does is keep pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down.
I agree with you 100%. I'm telling you right now, the numbers that you're using, for as long as we continue to take fully Medicaid people, and that's all we have. There's in the budget for a few private pay, but they're not private pay people. They're people that have a little bit more, maybe they have $20,000 or $30,000 in the bank, and until they're reduced to $2,500, they pay privately. Okay, then they can go on Medicaid. As long as the county focuses solely on 170 Medicaid people, the loss is going to continue to increase.
So,
Guaranteed.
You've seen these losses year after year. Did you do this?
Yes, no, I don't want to, I don't want to get into this whole thing, okay, but I had to say it because we're talking about budget numbers.
To that, but what
Okay.
I'm saying is our purpose here
Correct.
today was to focus on the actual.
On the budget.
And there is a time and a place for that kind of discussion, which is appropriate.
Next week.
So thank you. Okay,
Nursing home.
now, thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Ray, and thank you, everybody. I'm looking for a motion based on this budget that we worked on today. And I'm looking for an endorsement of the recommendations and recommendation for the Riverside Rest Home budget to go to the executive committee.
I'd like to make a motion to endorse the proposed, Riverside budget, the executive.
Do we have a
I
second?
second that.
Thank you, we do. And again, Kelly, thank you, but this was, well, and I
I know,
appreciate
I
that.
get it.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion, we have it seconded. All those in favor of passing this particular budget on to the, executive committee, raise your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, those opposed? 5 to 2. Okay, we will pass this budget, this particular budget, on to the executive committee. When are they meeting, you know?
It's,
Yeah, when are they meeting?
February.
February 20th. I really do thank everybody for being here and for participating today. I appreciate the time you put into this, the effort. Again, you've got your whole package and hopefully that'll take care of it. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned without a second.